What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lollygaggers Dynasty Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Ace, along with my fellow lovely co-host, Zang. How are you doing today, my good sir?
I'm doing well. We're on the road this week. I'm back visiting my in-laws, so we're in Los Angeles on a little trip. I do want to take this moment to just apologize to everyone for there's no intro or outro music. I thought I sent myself all the stuff I needed to, but I did forget those files. So,
how dare you?
I mean, you're just stuck with us talking. I know the 12 seconds of music to start the podcast is missing, and the whole experience is ruined.
I want my immersion, damn it. No, I'm joking.
It's gotta feel like a real podcast.
It's all good. Of course, we are still going to give a great show regardless. And we are in the thick of the fantasy football playoffs. Of course, we had our semifinals matchups this week. And we had some banger matchups, a couple of ups. Oh, I don't want to say a couple. Actually, yeah, a couple of upsets. And we will dive right into those. Starting off on this week, we had KJ Lee taking on Flaming Prius. KJ came into this matchup as the favorite 4 seed, was projected 153.99, while Flaming was projected 145.35. And this scoring got off to a hot start. Flaming, of course, having Sam Darnold going Thursday night against the Rams in that all-time, probably game of the year classic, the 38-37 overtime win for the Seattle Seahawks, and which featured some ridiculous plays, including a 2-point conversion that probably shouldn't have been a 2-point conversion, but whatever, it did, and it happened. So regardless, that was fun to watch. Like we mentioned, Sam Darnold, a pretty solid game after starting off terribly, really found a way to bounce back and give Flaming a good amount of points there. 21.5 for him, 22 of 34 for 270, 2 touchdowns, 2 2-point conversions as well, which, you know, those don't seem like a whole lot, but that's 4 points right there. So that's a passing touchdown, for instance. So that's a pretty solid showing there. He, of course, also had the 2 interceptions, so, you know, kind of lowering that ceiling for him a little bit, but still great game from him regardless. He also had Cody Parkinson, the tight end from the Rams. Didn't really do too much though, only 2 catches for 21 yards. He did get a lot more production throughout the week. He did, throughout the weekend, I should say. Running back Chase Brown, man, have yourself a day. Chase Brown's hat trick of touchdowns for him, 1 on the ground, 2 through the air. He had 12 carries for 66 yards, and of course that rushing score caught all 4 of his targets for 43 yards, and like we mentioned, those 2 scores as well for a nice 32.9 points there. By far his best game of the year. And of course, coupled that with Jamar Chase, who, although didn't get into the end zone, had another solid performance as well. 9 catches on 11 targets for 109 yards there. Just 1 yard short of a clean even 20, but we will absolutely take that. And shout out the Saints defense, man. They've been kind of a sneaky, I don't want to say sneaky fantasy fantasy defense, because they don't really generate too many turnovers like that and hold teams to low point totals. But this is the gift, this is the holiday season of playing the New York Jets, who still to this day have not forced a turnover this year. Absolutely ridiculous to say. The lowest amount of interception. They have not forced an interception this year. The lowest amount of interceptions in a single season for a team is 2. And they currently have 0 with 2 weeks to play. So take that for what you will. But like I said, Saints defense had a nice showing. 20 points there with the pick, only allowing 6 points. 8 sacks on poor Brady Cook, the rookie starting quarterback, in place of the 2 injured starting quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields. Also had a forced fumble and recovered that fumble as well. Going over to KJ Lee's side, he fought back valiantly. Bijan Robinson with yet another massive, almost 30-point game, had 16 carries for 76 yards. Now, that doesn't look too impressive, but this man does it both on the ground and through the air, hauling in 7 of his 11 targets for 92 yards and a score there as well. Like I mentioned, 29.8 points. Atlanta fans, I know it's been absolutely miserable for you this year, but Bijan is definitely your one bright spot in there, and I know fantasy owners are loving that performance. Jackson Smith-Njigba, of course, he had going on Thursday as well. 23.6 points for him, hauling in 8 of his 13 targets for 96 yards and a score. And Cortland Sutton, man, having another great day. 6 catches on 12 yards. What? 6 catches on 12 targets for 86 yards and a score for 20.8 points there. And KJ, man, he was down a good bit going into that Monday night game. But he had Brock Purdy. Flaming had Jonathan Taylor. And although Jonathan Taylor gave you 16.9, 16 carries for 46 yards, that rushing touchdown hauled in all 3 of his targets for 33 yards. Brock Purdy stole the show with 5 passing touchdowns, his new career high, 25 of 34 for 295, and like I said, 5 passing touchdowns. Did throw the 1 pick, however, but it really didn't affect his scoring too much. Unfortunately, though, for KJ, it would not be enough. Flaming Prius punches in his Dynasty Fantasy Football Championship ticket with a stunning upset over, although the lower-seeded KJ, very easily the hottest team going into these playoffs. And yeah, just an incredible season for KJ, man. I wanted to just say congrats to you. We kind of talked about it in an earlier pod where he had, he was like top 4 or top 5 in points scored, but he was like the most scored against throughout the league. And, as, water kind of finds level, as you like to say, it finally did, but unfortunately, and it's still a very solid performance. I mean, almost 160 points is nothing to scoff at, but
incredible. Yeah.
Absolutely unfortunate that, he does come away with a loss here. And Flaming, man, making both finals in the Dynasty leagues. Oh, you wanted to go, Zang?
Yeah, Flaming Prius is really showing us. Yeah. Flaming Prius is just really showing us it's a skill issue here. He is, as you said, 2 finals here, coming in the number 1 seed. I'm sure it feels good for him to make it into the finals as that 1 seed, making his way through the playoffs. Going into Monday night, we said, boy, you need the Brock Purdy legacy game for KJ to have a chance. We got the legacy game. It just wasn't quite enough, as you said, kind of about 8 points shy of surpassing Flaming Prius. But as you said, phenomenal game from KJ and over on Prius's side as well. Not too many real bench blunders to pull out here. KJ did have on his bench, he left Isaiah Davis, who had 10 points there, but even if he had been subbed in for Rico Dowdle there, which would have been kind of a bold start as it is, that wouldn't have made up for the difference there. So at least, KJ can go in saying, hey, I did what I could, and Prius was just a little too good, and man, is he good. I mean, Sam Darnold has been playing great. This was a down week for Jonathan Taylor. Even then, he still did really well, and that duo of Bengals that he has are just carrying him through the season. One thing that really stood out to me, boy, how many times have we talked about Trey McBride and just all the points he's racking up? And of course, this is the week, single digits for him, just 6.7 points. That definitely stings after he was putting up 30s and 20s, what felt like pretty regularly.
Yeah, and what really sucks about that, too, is that Trey McBride, like you mentioned, has just been so consistent. He's only had 2 games this year out of the 15 that he's played, obviously with their bye week, where he's been below double-digit points, and even that other double-digit point performance he had was back in Week 5 against Tennessee. Funny enough, one of the bottom feeders of the league. Only had even then it was still 9.1 points there. So to have somebody balling out like that for you on the regular, and when you really need him most, he vanishes. Shout out Avatar. Man, it's just absolutely brutal to see. And I'm sure he lost a lot of people their fantasy matchups this week.
It does feel that way. A lot of people were counting on him. Yeah, but,
absolutely.
Congratulations to Prius, obviously, for moving on to his second Lollygaggers championship in Dynasty this year. It is going to be exciting to obviously see how his matchup goes against a familiar opponent. Who was our other matchup of the week, Ace?
Yes, our final matchup of the week was, of course, the 6 versus 7 seed Mike taking on Anna Kendrick. Anna coming into this one as the favorite. He was projected... whoops, I had it here and it just went away. My mistake. He was projected 144.49 points. Mike was projected 134.14. And like I mentioned in our last week's episode, 10-point difference isn't really all that much. That's definitely something that can be kind of finicky. Obviously, these projections and whatnot are really never that. I don't want to say that consistent, but they can definitely flip on any given play. You just need a player or two to pop off for you. So we'll dive right into their matchup there. Starting off, we have, we'll go with Anna Kendrick on this one, actually. Jahmyr Gibbs with another great performance, albeit in a loss. 7 carries for only 2 yards. However, he did most of his work through the air, hauling in 10 catches on 13 targets for 66 yards and a touchdown, putting up wide receiver stats there. Devon Achane as well, another guy. He did most of his work on the ground. However, 15 carries for 81 yards and the score. Went 3 for 3 on his targets and catches for only 9 yards for a nice even 18 points there. George Kittle, we're talking about tight ends, man. He did not disappoint for those playing him in the championship, in the semifinals this week, hauling in 7 of his 8 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown in that absolute blowout of the Colts that effectively eliminated the Colts from the playoffs. He put up 24.5 points there. Chris Boswell contributing 10 of his own, although did miss a crucial field goal late in that game that really gave the Lions life to go down and potentially drive and score to take the lead. It was not meant to be, however. Moving over to Mike's side, he fought back valiantly. Caleb Williams putting up 21 points there for him. 19 of 34, 250 passing, and 2 touchdowns, both coming in the final seconds, I should say, of regulation. And of course, the overtime bomb to DJ Moore that, Bears fans are going to be talking about this win for years and years to come, especially if this team could do something in the postseason. Just what a turning point for them. Oh, yeah.
About 18 of those 21 came in the fourth quarter, I think. Yeah,
just absolutely turnaround performance there for Caleb. The onside kick muff by Romeo Doubs is really what set this whole thing up for Caleb. So I know Mike was insanely happy with that, and Anna had to have been kicking himself because I didn't really want to talk about it, but we do got to talk about it. Anna did have Jordan Love in that game. Unfortunately, Jordan Love does go down with that head injury pretty early in the game, only getting Anna 3.78 points there. So it was really just a double whammy on all fronts there for Anna. Losing Jordan Love early in the game, and then Caleb, having a chance to, Caleb only walk out of there with a couple of points. And, that onside kick happens, and, that's football, as we love to say on this show. Ashton Genty as well for Mike. Finally, I bet you this is what everybody who drafted Genty this year was saying. Finally, he has one of these massive performances. 31.8 points for him, 24 carries for 128 yards, a rushing touchdown, and only hauling in 1 reception. However, it was a massive one. That 1 reception was worth 14 points, as it was a 60-yard score for him as well. So just incredible day there for Ashton Genty, and it couldn't have come at a better time for those obviously in fantasy football playoffs. Chris Olave as well was a massive surprise there. 10 catches on 16 targets for 148 yards and 2 touchdowns for a nice 36.8 points there. Absolutely massive day from the wide receiver one out in New Orleans. And although New Orleans is firmly out of it, I know fantasy owners are eating this matchup up. And of course, Derrick Henry, 18 carries. King Henry, 18 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Never got the ball again after that second touchdown for reasons completely unknown. But, whatever it was, 22.8 points there for Derrick Henry. Another solid day. It would be enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you are in our Baseball Dynasty League, you recognize this finals matchup all too well. We are going to have Mike taking on Flaming Prius yet again. We do have a 1 versus the 7 seed in our fantasy football playoffs, man.
Love it.
Absolutely just magical season. And yeah, I know they are probably ecstatic about this. And we'll get into that matchup in a little bit here. But yeah, absolutely massive game here for Mike, putting up 182.74 points. Very, very close to dropping that 200 bomb. Like I say, can't stress enough the significance and how well Mike's team played here.
Yeah, and he had even more on the bench. Two guys over 20 points left on the bench. Quentin Johnston had 20.4,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you had DJ Moore with 21.9. Both of those on Mike's bench. Obviously, like you said, he had phenomenal players in his lineup too. Would have been tough to slot them in, to be honest. Mike had four different players over 20 points. Two more over 15. So just obviously an unbelievable week, as you said. It's how you get to 182 points is with a performance like that. And, fantasy football playoffs, I think, bring out sort of the worst timing in things. And pretty much the worst time for Jordan Love to go down with an injury is in the first quarter of your semifinals matchup. And it is the way that the cookie crumbled for Anna here. So it does, work in part to bring his season to an end. It would have been a tough hill to overcome, Mike, regardless if Jordan Love had made that game, made it through the end of that game or not. But we did have one more over on Anna's side, just in terms of guys left on the bench. Tyjae Spears did have a 21.5 point performance. He was left on the bench, but that was really his first time getting anywhere near that. He did have a 17 point on week 8 against Indianapolis, but other than that, it's been all single digits. So that one definitely would have been tough to predict. But yeah, 5 for 5 on receptions there and a touchdown. It's did the job and would have closed the gap a little bit more, but of course, certainly not enough to cover the difference between Mike and Anna. So yeah, we're on. Mike and Flaming Prius going up against each other once again, this time in the Lollygaggers Super Bowl. Instead of the World Series.
Yeah, man, absolutely insane. Congratulations to these two guys. Hey, they know fantasy. I mean, hey, about both first years of the Dynasty Leagues, they are both in, the finals matchups for each of those. Just absolutely insane. And then I didn't even realize this too, but Mike does have DJ, like you mentioned, DJ Moore on the bench. Man, if he would have started DJ Moore over CeeDee Lamb and, that obviously the Bears game went as it did.
Oh my God.
It would have just been like a triple dagger in Anna's heart. So at least he didn't have to deal with that, but unfortunately does still take the L here. But yeah, man, let's take an early look here at this week, or let me rephrase this. In this championship matchup between Mike and Flaming, there isn't any available matchups yet. I guess they still have yet to set. The scores do, because it is Tuesday when we're recording this, so I'm a little bit shocked that they aren't set yet. Usually they are. So we really don't have a way to see who's the favorite or not. I would imagine the favorite would go to Flaming. I could totally be wrong about that. But, Zang, I will toss this question over to you. Who do you have winning this fantasy football dynasty championship matchup?
It's tough to say. I have to say I'm having a hard time betting against Mike, given what he's shown us over the past now basically, 10 months of fantasy general play. I think I'm going to go with Mike here. I have to say he's got the high end talent in CeeDee Lamb and Etienne and Derrick Henry. He's got sort of those secondary guys too that can really pop off, like you talked about with DJ Moore, with Caleb Williams, Ashton Genty. And it just feels like he is on a little bit of a magical run. Interestingly enough, and I know we're bringing back the baseball stuff so much, but it's kind of a rematch there. Prius was actually the 6th seed going into that with Mike, the 1 seed. So this is another top seed, bottom seed. But once again, I do think I have to stick with Mike here. That team has got what feels like all the pieces that it needs to win a Lollygagger Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I am going to have to agree with you on this one. I think Mike is just riding such a hot hand right now. And I mean, coming off a 182-point performance, you're almost certainly going to not match that in this upcoming round. But you don't really need to. But these are two powerhouse teams. I think throughout the season, let me just double check this really quick. I want to say throughout the season, these two have been the highest scorers. I could totally be wrong about that. Mike is a 7 seed. So there is, potential for me to just be absolutely lying to you guys here.
Mike was 8th in points for, but Prius was first.
Prius was first. Okay, yeah. So it is, Prius definitely, I would say Prius is probably the favorite going into this one. But yeah, man, never count Mike out. We definitely, like we mentioned, in bringing up the baseball again, the man just knows how to draft, and the man just knows how to, get a winning team out there week in and week out, sneaks into the playoffs. But hey, you're at the championship round. There's no sneaking about now. This is where the players play. And yeah, Mike looking to go for a full Dynasty sports sweep on the year.
Going for the double, yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Meanwhile, Prius is going to win this and then just smoke the fattest cigar we've ever seen. The two of us picking the 7 seed. He's like, come on, guys. And it is kind of funny. I'm like, I trust in Mike. He's got all this. And I look at Prius's team and, oh, my God, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, Dak. He's got Jacoby Myers. He's got Tedero and McMillan. I'm like, Jesus, maybe I'm picking wrong. But, yeah, it is going to be a really fun matchup to watch. These finals always are, obviously, with the way it comes down to it. But, yeah, a lot of fun, especially in a 7-1 matchup, as you said.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as great as you can ask for, man. Obviously, everybody loves to see the 1 and the 2 seeds stack up. That's just typical powerhouses, quote unquote. But these Cinderella stories, man, all you got to do is just get into the dance. And once you're there, hey, anything could happen. Anybody could come pick you up and ask you for a dance yourself, and you're dancing the night away. So we will see next week who is dancing the night away. A bit of a short pod for this week. We felt, me and Zang had talked about it a little bit pregame. We didn't really think, diving into teams of the weeks or anything like that. Obviously, the waiver wire and whatnot's all just, that's all irrelevant now that you're in the postseason. You're just trying, again, to bring the dancing analogy back, you're dancing with who brought you. And that's ultimately how these guys have made it this far in the season. And I know I speak for both Zang and myself when I say that this is going to be a matchup of the ages. And with that all being said...
this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And with that all being said, guys, we want to thank you so much again for tuning in. We appreciate all of your support and contributions throughout this season. Zang and I love doing this, so I really see no reason for us to stop now. Obviously, we will be back next week talking about the championship round and how that went. And then right after that, we only got a couple short months until our Dynasty Baseball League starts again. So I'm very excited for that. And with that all being said, guys, for Zang and myself, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. And we will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one.